Men of Reddit, what are some telltale signs that a woman is creepy? When she starts taking offense to doing anything without her involved. Had one girlfriend who insisted that she be with me for any outing, watching movies with friends, having dinner and drinks with the guys. She always found a way to come along. When I asked why she was so insistent on going everywhere with me, she said she wanted to make sure I wasn't talking to any other girls, and shortly after told me to cut off contact with every girl I regularly talked to, which really just signaled a huge jealousy/insecurity problem. I told her I wasn't going to do that, and to be assured that I chose her to be in a relationship with. If I wanted anyone else, I would not have signed up to be with her. That didn't stop her though. One day I went out to have BBQ with the guys without her, and noticed on the way there and on the way home a car was following me. It was her, making sure there weren't any girls I was talking to. I broke it off with her after that. After a few days of her sending a constant bombardment of angry texts, she finally left me alone. This girl I met on Tinder had me take her out to a restaurant and then switched tables with her friend. They had been on blind dates and decided to switch. Her friend was not as attractive, and I was very uncomfortable. After ordering my food, I went to the bathroom for 10 minutes to contemplate my exit strategy. When I got back, they had both left. The other guy asked if he could sit with me, so we had dinner, and he ate his date's enchiladas. It was actually kinda fun after they left. Outright refusing to believe that a guy might not be into her advances. I've seen a woman stare in bewilderment at her boyfriend after he had to repeatedly remove her hand from his crotch because she couldn't comprehend that he didn't feel like getting felt up in a public area. I've also had a woman, middle-aged, throw a tantrum because I wouldn't buy her a drink when I, 22 at the time, was at a bar while I was with my parents and some visiting family members. My ex would freak out and throw things and scream at me. That's not the disturbing thing. She would fucking forget about it, hit reset, and act like it didn't happen the next day. Over and over. I started filming her episodes to prove to myself I wasn't going crazy. In high school there was a girl who liked me. She ended up carving my name into her foot. Tighty white tie stapled to her wall as conquests. I've seen it. It's out there. In my experience, constantly talking about how people don't get them. All of their exes are crazy. I only hang out with guys. She'll joke about having kids before you're even in a serious relationship. I went on a couple dates with this one girl who had mentioned how much she wanted kids. Nothing unusual. Pretty common actually. I'm looking forward to being a dad one day. Then she started sending me those weird things where you put two people's pictures together and see what their kids would look like. One time would be quirky, but she sent me a different one every morning for a week. Broke it off when I realized I hadn't even given her a picture of myself. TLDR Girl I hadn't talked to in 4 years started messaging my friends asking why I hadn't responded to her good morning text at 10 in the morning. Met this girl in church group in middle school. We got to know each other because of the group, but didn't really become friends or anything. Stopped going when I went to high school and never talked to her for 3 years. She commented on a FB status I had and we got to chatting, and I agreed to hang out the next weekend. I asked if we should invite other people in our old church group since I hadn't seen any of them in a while, and she said no. I thought this was cause she liked me and wanted to hang out with me, so I was flattered. I kept talking to her throughout the day. The next morning I woke up around 10 AM to about 7 to 8 missed calls, 2 voice messages, and countless text messages from her. I was pretty creeped out by them. The nail in the coffin was one of the messages I got was from an old friend from the church group asking me if I talked to that girl. I was confused how my friend knew I talked to this girl the day before. Turns out the girl started messaging my friends asking when I wake up in the morning and why I hadn't messaged her back. I had a boss who acted like I could do no wrong. She praised me and thought I was the best. Then one day like a switch she turned on me. She acted like I was the spawn of Satan. I don't know how I didn't lose my job. Somehow I weaseled my way out of that mess. Then I noticed she does the same thing with all her new men employees. I don't take well to obsessive praise anymore after her. I had a girlfriend who yelled at me for spending $9,000 on my mountain bike instead of on her. I race professional, and I took her out to dinner at least 3 times a week and got her gifts all the time. Plus we got to travel the world thanks to sponsors. But the one purchase for myself was too selfish. When she puts a phone in your trunk on top of your spare tire to track you via GPS. I don't use my trunk. She knew that. She hooked it up to the 12V charger in my trunk and put a tracking app on the additional line she bought. I only discovered it when I had a blowout and had to use it. When I questioned her about it, she said she had trust issues. But good news. Every time I told her I was somewhere, I was at that place. We broke up after that. Asking for your passwords, phone, email, Facebook, etc. as a sign of trust. Nope. I have nothing to hide. However, when you think you need to have that information, it shows you already don't trust me. And anyone who asks and then says they won't use it is lying. They may not use it that day or even soon, but they will use it at some point because the same suspicion that led to them asking for it will lead them to use it. When they know more about your errands than what you told her. Extra creepy point is she becomes angry when you deviate from your initial daily plans. Extra creepy points if she starts angrily texting you when you change your plans as your day is unfolding. She asks you your sign, then giggles, gives crazy eyes, and says we're compatible. When she has decided you are her best friend after being around you for an hour. I once responded to a flatmate ad, but the criteria was single male 30-ish years old. Turns out she wasn't looking for a flatmate, she was looking for a husband. I was always clear that she would just be a flatmate to me. Weird things included getting upset when I didn't make her aware of when I was coming home or just came home late. She slept in a pile of laundry, but the rest of the house was immaculate. I brought a girl home once. She moved from the lounge to her bedroom beside mine so she could hear what was going on. Things got super weird after that. Lots of daytime texting with nonsense questions and flat meetings. Then outright banning my friends. Then an extreme amount of verbal abuse. When I moved out, she'd just come up to me and yell stuff like you're such a fucking loser. Basically I had started seeing another girl and she went over the edge. I always refrained from reacting and just gitfo. When after 2 days she tells you she loves you and also proceeds to mention that she loves your green eyes so much that if we ever broken up she would steal them while you sleep and keep them in a jar in her room. I dated a girl in university that turned out to be severely mentally ill, and we dated for many years as she turned me into a shadow of myself, devoid of self-esteem, friends and any sense of self. Heed my words, or be doomed. She would not like it if I went anywhere without her, or did anything without letting her know. I don't know if it was jealousy or what, but it really angered her, and if I ever went anywhere without her I'd spent most of my time there chatting with her on my phone trying to get her to calm down. She would contact me randomly throughout the day to tell me she felt terrible and I had to go to be with her. Didn't matter what I was doing, usually I was in class at university or trying to hang out with my friends. It was expected of me to speak very lovingly and tell her I'd be over right away. Even if I went over right away she would get mad that I didn't sound very happy about it, then fight about that. Or if I said I couldn't do it, she'd lose it at that too. You can imagine how badly this affected my academic and social life. Even if we were together I couldn't do stuff that wasn't about her. Doodling in a sketchbook while watching a movie, she'd flip out. Mess around on my guitar while we are lying around my room chatting. Fury. She hated all women even remotely sexual. Girl in shorts, or girl in miniskirt. Horrible sut. What was weird is she was a hippie liberal girl with progressive parents, but when it came to other women being in touch with sexuality it was somehow terrible. Didn't have a lot of female friends in general, and if my housemates ever brought girls over to our house she would get really insecure. Would have random episodes due to her bipolar, causing her to scream at me, throw shit at me, drive extremely erratically, and just generally treat me like garbage. I was basically linked to her 24/7, either physically or by phone, and if we ever got into any kind of argument I couldn't just walk away and try cool off. That would drive her nuts and she would panic even more and pursue me. I could go on about her and her behavior, but those were at least things that were there from pretty much the start. Other things revealed themselves over time. In the end she broke up with me, which I couldn't believe. At first I was angry at her, but very quickly, that anger turned to me. When I think back to how long I stayed with her, and how badly she treated me, I feel so much hatred for myself for being so pathetic and worthless. There are still times I want to die, because I hate myself for doing that to myself. I was weak, she was broken, but she made me feel like I mattered sometimes, and that was enough for far too long. An all-consuming obsession with horses. An inability to live her life as it is now, instead being laser focused on getting a husband and then having children. I'm not talking about normal long-term goals here. I mean a single girl who's always talking about finding her husband and having kids, when the proper next step is finding a boyfriend, the step after that being engagement, then marriage, then having children. FWIW. Every girl I've known who is like this has also lived rent-free with parents, which tends to limit one's romantic opportunities. YMMV, of course.